everyone, it's Hayes, and in today's video we're going to do the commentary / analysis for the Reverse special. I don't know how long this video is going to be. Obviously it's like over double the length of a normal episode length. It's like 50 minutes, not like 22, so I'm not sure how long this video is going to be. Actually, I've only got like a page and a half of notes, would you believe? But two things before we start. The first thing, as always, I've had to spoil the full thing for you, so if you haven't already seen it, please go and watch it. And the second thing is we have kittens. They're currently in the room. They are just staring very alarmingly at the camera. They've never seen it. They're not quite sure what's going on. They'll be fine. I doubt they're going to make much noise. They just have food. Usually after they've eaten, they go to bed. So I'm hoping they're going to sleep. However, 10 minutes ago, they were just sat wrestling on my bed. So I don't know yet. They're very cute. Anyway, so now let's talk about the Reverse special. And I did like it. I don't think I liked it as much as other people did, and that's fine. We're all allowed our own opinion. Out of 10, I would give it a 7 out of 10, which obviously isn't bad by any means. If I hated it, I would have given it a 2. You know, it's 7 out of 10, that's still pretty good. But other people are like, oh my god, 100 out of 10. I'm glad they liked it because, honestly, I wasn't that big of a fan of it. I was mega excited for it because it's science fiction. If you didn't know, I'm doing a PhD. In part is about science fiction. I have loved science fiction, I have always loved science fiction, and now I'm doing it academically. If you didn't know, I'm a professional writer and my focus is mainly in romance and sci-fi, so I was like, this special, up my alley. 100%. So I was really excited for it. Just sometimes when you really set high expectations for something and for whatever reason it just doesn't meet them and it falls flat. So part of me feels like it's my own fault, which definitely could be true. So part of me feels at fault for it, but also, yeah, I'll talk about it. So just, you know, my general overview, my quick thoughts before I get into the whole special is that there were definitely some moments I really loved. I thought all the fight sequences were great. I loved all the little reveals they did. I thought that was wonderful. All the different designs we saw during the special. So we had Ladybug, Claw Noir, other Alia, Ubiquity, other Nino, then the new Ladybug and Claw Noir, Marinette's Ladybug suit with the butterfly, and then all the other heroes in different worlds. Loved it. Love those, and I loved the overall message that the special sent. However, there were two things, and they're quite big things for me, hence why it's a 7 out of 10, and maybe I've been too generous. But first of all, is that the dialogue felt a little bit awkward in some places, not the whole way through, just in some places, and I was like, ugh. I don't know if that's like an error with the translation because I watched it in English. I don't know if it sounds better in French maybe with the subtitles, but the English version, the dialogue seemed a little bit off. It wasn't the voice actors, it was the lines themselves. It wouldn't have mattered who delivered them, the lines were going to stay the same, so that was a bit strange. And the other thing was the lore, or what's known academically, because I'm a science fiction soon to be proper academic, that sounds scary, world building. Basically. So I understood all the lore, or the world building. This supreme guy who's in charge of the Miraculouses was obviously not letting the Kwame speak, and the thing with the wish, they didn't even know about it and he was in control, stuff like that. It's not that I didn't understand, I got everything, I got it. And it was very interesting. However, what I think would have been more interesting, instead of just being told everything all the time, is that if we actually got to see it, we were shown it. It's like this writing technique, show don't tell where possible. Now I understand showing this other world and all the money it would take to show, like, I don't know, Marinette's bedroom in the alternate universe, Adrian's bedroom, the school, the bakery, whatever kind of locations they were going for. I understood that would have been a lot more expensive. However, by its nature, producing anything sci-fi related is often more expensive because they travel to other worlds. That's just like the nature of sci-fi. That's why there isn't usually a sci-fi film unless it comes from a big studio with a lot of money behind it. Same with TV series. They don't tend to do much fantasy or sci-fi because of all the extra money that is needed for it compared to something that's like more realistic, that's just set in everyday life. Of course there's still an expense, I'm not pretending it's cheap, but it's cheaper than producing something that is fantasy a science fiction. So I was a bit like, whilst I get it, at the same time I didn't feel fully immersed, and I have a full quote to explain what I want. This is from the book Building Imaginary Worlds, The Theory and History of Subcreation by Mark J.P. Wolf. It's one of the books I used my PhD, and I have a really solid quote for it. I thought of it as when I was rewatching the special. I did my reaction, by the way, if you're wondering. So the quote is, "Since details of the secondary world displace those of the primary world in the audience member's attention, the more details the secondary world asks the audience to keep in mind, especially details important to the understanding and enjoyment of the story, the more full the audience mind is of the secondary world, and the more absorbing the experience of it becomes." And that's on page 49. So that's basically what I'm trying to say. Like, I don't mind the bulk of the special being set in the normal everyday Paris we get in the show. I had no problem with that, and I was expecting that going in. Like, pretty much all the screenshots and clips and stuff we'd seen had been set in our version of Paris. 100% expecting that. However, I definitely feel, because there were a couple of scenes that were just unnecessary. For example, like right at the start, Gabriel in his like lair with the Kwamis, that bit was necessary to show the pain he was in. I think most of you now worked out it was set the same night as Destruction. Oh my god, I don't know how any of them managed to go to school the next day. I would have pretended to be ill, but I'm sorry, I can't do it. If you're wondering, so most of Risk takes place that day. Strike Back, Evolution, Destruction. Like, no. Wouldn't have done it. I would have stayed off school, I would have skived 100% because I didn't get any sleep. No, not doing it at all. However, that scene continues to Gabriel like dithering outside Adrian's room, and I was like, that didn't... What was that supposed to communicate to me? Nothing to me, in my opinion. I didn't particularly feel like that scene was needed, so I really feel they could have replaced some scenes like that really seem to be of no consequence, and included some scenes of them in the parallel universe. Because like I said, everything about this universe, apart from that opening scene, is just told to us. We should be shown it instead of just telling, because it was super interesting learning about Chloe, how Marinette's parents in this other world don't seem that great people, that she has no friends, stuff like that. It seems like really interesting, and we didn't get to see any of it, and it's just like I already know everything about the world Miraculous is already set in. I want to know about that one, the one where I know next to nothing about, like this Supreme guy. And I know the thing with the Wish, we'll talk about it later on. I liked that he had somehow, I'm not sure how he managed to do it, where he was like controlling Tiki and Plag. They weren't allowed to talk, they hadn't been told about the Wish, as in Marinette and Adrian, they didn't know about it, and it couldn't be done. Whilst I liked it, that was like the only stake, like the only challenge from the parallel world. I feel like if they had used more of the parallel world and got rid of some of the more like random scenes that didn't need to be in there, it would have been much more effective because of all the talking. Like, there's a lot of standing around and talking, and I understand there needs to be dialogue, I'm not pretending, but there should have been showing over telling. Because there's a lot of that, it just feels kind of slow and really disjointed, and is definitely one reason I didn't like it. Like I said, the primary reason I was looking forward to this special was because it was going to be like a science fiction special. And I really personally feel, as someone who is going to soon graduate as a certified expert in writing science fiction, that they really fell flat with that. Now, I don't know the writing profile of everyone on the team for Miraculous, and whether it's even the same team for the special, I have no idea. But I feel like, because of the way this special ended up, that they probably don't have enough people, or even anyone on the team with enough expertise, or just not even expertise really, just knowledge on how to write science fiction, which is possibly part of the reason why for me it fell a little bit flat, in my opinion. It's fine if you enjoyed it, okay. I just love sci-fi, and for me personally it just didn't live up to what I was expecting from a science fiction special, basically. So yeah, that's basically my standpoint on it. If you loved it, that's great. But like, I know fantasy and sci-fi, they fall together in the same genre, but writing those two, they really aren't the same in any really way, shape or form. The only way they're similar is that it's a different world. but they're not the same. And if they were going to write sci-fi, then they needed to have got someone, even if just for the special, who knew. So yeah, I understand it would have made this special a hell of a lot more expensive to produce, but usually producing sci-fi, whatever, is pretty expensive. So yeah. Anyway, let's like, sorry, I know that was quite long, but it's kind of like an overarching thing that affects the whole special. However, that being said, like I said, I did really like other bits of it, so let's talk about it in chronological order now. So, the opening. I understand, okay, like Gabriel's the good guy, he's the main character, I get it. But I was also like, I don't like this, I kind of hated it, but I didn't hate it to the point it's affecting the rating. I was like, this is so cringe, kind of hated it, very cringy. But also I was kind of like, does this mean that in parallel universes, Gabriel has a show of his own? That would be wonderful. And one thing I did also like was that it did start in the action, so after the theme tune, it starts with Hesperia. I'm not calling him, what was he called? Betterfly. No. No, hate it, hate the name, no, no. Hesperia, I'm not calling him that. No. Anyway, so I liked how it showed them working together in their lair, then Nino comes down, and then Ladybug and Claw Noir are coming, and he starts with the Akuma, or whatever the other name, I've already forgotten the name he called it instead for the good version of them. Get it? So I liked the fact it started in the action, but part of me kind of wishes, instead of having that theme tune, which I did personally find quite cringy and cheesy, because later on they have the proper, the Miraculous World theme tune, so I feel like they could have gotten rid of Gabriel's weird theme tune and actually gone back a little bit further. So it's like a writing rule. It's like called start as late as possible, which means start as late as possible into the story as you can. So whilst when it opened, I really appreciated it for that, because part of me did really assume we were going to start with Marina and Alia on their sleepover after the events of destruction. I quite liked the fact it started in the parallel universe, I really liked it, but I felt like because we're just told all the lore as it went on, I felt like it might have been better if we'd gone back further and maybe started with Gabriel stealing the butterfly, and I'm assuming the peacock, I'm assuming other Adrian is also a sentient monster, and that's the reason Emily is dead again. God, this woman, she can't catch a break in any universe. But that's what I'm assuming has happened. So I think they really should have started there, even if it ended up jumping to that. You know, I just feel like it needed a better thought process where the world building was concerned, because it just didn't do it justice for me, like, at all, to be honest. So then, like I said, I did kind of feel like the scene with Gabriel trying to call Natalie and then dithering outside Adrian's room was a little bit pointless, to be honest. I didn't really like, the only thing we needed to know that Gabriel was injured. Just to let you know, like, at which point it follows on from. And again, they could have incorporated that into another of Gabriel's scenes instead. I just didn't really think it was necessary, and all of that would have allowed for more world building back in the parallel universe before other Gabriel arrives in this world. This video is gonna get confusing. I hope I'm making sense. If I'm not, please leave a timestamp and I will re-explain myself. So back at Marinette's, I love like the explanation around her self-esteem after everything has happened recently because of all the events leading up to it. Yeah, I'm not surprised. And then when Hesperia's arrived, it's like, we need Ladybug, and she's like, yeah, no, she'd be totally useless. So Hesperia just leaves with her. I'm not sure I understand the logic behind him leaving Alia, unless his intention was maybe to go back for her later. I don't know. I'm not really sure, but I was like, why would you leave her? You know Ladybug and Claw Noir are there, so why would you leave her? That was a bit strange. But then I'm like, so Ladybug and Claw Noir come through with like the bigger version of Markov, except it's like what I think is Max's face in it. I'm not 100% certain, looks like Max, but I was like, did you just murder Max? Is that what happened here? That's not good, that's not good. However, it's good to know Claw Noir was like, oh Nino, you can go back to your girlfriend. It's good to know that DJ Wi-Fi exists in another universe. Amazing. Although I did find it strange how when they're in Marinette's room looking around, they see all the photos of Adrian and Ladybug's like, oh, that's gross, why does everyone like him? We know Adrian Agreste doesn't look like that in your world, so how on earth did you even recognise him? I don't. I have no idea. Also, I do find it a little bit strange that there wasn't like a bigger realization from Ladybug when she landed in Marinette's room that this was maybe her room, because as we see in the flashback later on, she is doing a shift in the bakery. Her mum is the same, so I feel like it would stand to reason she has the same bedroom, even if it looks very different. She, like, why was there like no recognition there? I found that very, very, very strange. But anyway, oh my god, Sabine as well though. So there was like an explosion or something, and Sabine's like, "Are you okay? Go up and see." Oh my god, and Ali was like, "Oh yeah, it was just a really loud video game." What kind of video game? I love Tom and Sabine with all of my heart, but their parenting, strange choices. They make very strange choices. So the next thing I really liked was like tracking the scent of the butterfly. That was cool. It's like one of the reasons why I like Pretension so much. We got Tom away just to find Felix. I loved that. However, when Marinette and Tiki are watching the fight, I'm like, why wouldn't Tiki have mentioned this ever before? I find that a bit strange and also a bit plot holey, to be honest. But I did really like her explanation around how this Ladybug and Cat Noir are basically forcing the overuse of their powers and are therefore injuring themselves. I really, really like that. However, so Cat Noir arrives, they all fight. Like I said, I loved like all the fighting sequence in this. I thought they were really well like choreographed. I don't know if that's the right word. I think it is. But anyway, so he ends up cataclysming Claw Noir, and I have like two kind of issues with this. Is first of all, he's just cataclysmed Monarch Daddy. Now, whilst he didn't technically mean to, like he was holding it there as a threat in destruction, it was like just like a threat. He wasn't actually going to do it because they were hoping he was going to hand over the butterfly, right? They were like, "You're not going to be this stupid." Turns out he is that stupid, you know what I mean? But like you could see how distraught Cat Noir is in destruction after doing it, so why would he be so readily, literally what, like, I don't know, maybe an hour later, maybe less, I'm not sure, it doesn't say how much time has passed between destruction and the special, but like why would he be so willing to do it to someone else so soon? Even if again it was just meant to be a threat, why would you when it went so badly like an hour ago? The logic isn't quite adding up for me personally. But then secondly, so he does end up cataclysming Claw Noir, and I was like, why are there like zero effects from it? We obviously seen with Gabriel this last season that he's gradually basically disintegrated over time, with him literally crumbling in some scenes in Recreation. And then we saw, for example, like with Adrian in the episode Miraculous, when he got cataclysmed, he was in a lot of pain. And I remember when I did the video on the show Bible, when I read it, it was saying stuff like give you bad luck and stuff. And he seems fine. Is that just because he wears the Miraculous of the Black Cat, so therefore it has no effect on him? Now, I don't know if it just has no effect because he also wears the same Miraculous. I'm not really sure, to be honest, because later on when they're having that fight together, when they end up at the swimming pool, he cataclysms like one of Cat Noir's ears and it just comes like right off, so it has an effect on our Cat Noir, but the other cataclysm seems to have no real effect on Claw Noir. Like, I know there's like a physical effect, you can see there's like a little crack or something or whatever on his chest right in the middle, but further than that he seems fine. And even when he transforms back to Adrian, when he's in Marinette's room, when Ladybug takes the ring off him, again he seems fine. So I was a bit like, what? Basically didn't quite understand where that was going on. However, I really loved the Cat Noir getting akumatized sequence with it all going slow-mo. You got the slow-mo pigeons, that was wonderful. I love pigeons. And the conversation about trust, and then he lights up, and oh my god, the outfits, yes, I loved it. So they get rid of Ladybug. Claw Noir's like, oh, I'll catch you, and then decides not to. And I love their relationship, how I was about to steal the earrings from her, the absolute lack of trust they have for each other but still work as a team. I really loved the dynamic in the special, thought it was great. So then we get to the sewers scene, and the sewers scene was a little disjointed with other scenes in between, but it was a bit strange. And again, this is like one of the show don't tell things. So Gabriel, other Gabriel, starts talking about the supreme person, which made me either think of the supreme leader from North Korea or like a chicken dish, chicken supreme. But anyway, so I think that would have been better if we actually saw him at the start. In my head, I was either imagining an evil Master Fu or an evil Suhan. That's like, I was thinking like the guardian of the miraculous, but evil. That's what was going through my head. What was going through your head when he kept saying that? That's what I was thinking. So I was like, okay, love the law, I understand it. It's not that I was confused, I'm like, but show me. Even if it was just like an image at the side of Gabriel, like, show me. Do you know, like when later on, like, so the next scene is the diary, and I love the use of the diary finding out about Marinette and how much better Shadybug perceives her life to be, her equivalent life, and how they showed all the flashbacks. I was like, do something like that, because one of my things, the diary scene, I was like, well, show us more how Shadybug is feeling about that by showing us the equivalent. What's it like in her school? Like I said, I understand it would be more expensive, but doing something science fiction is more expensive by its nature because you gotta do stuff like this. That's why they don't do sci-fi just in general, not just on the Miraculous team, but just in general more often, because it often is a lot more expensive when things like this happen. Like the whole time someone mentioned anything about the other world, I was like, show me. I wanna know. Show me what it's like. Don't just tell me. I wanna know properly. I was getting so annoyed as it went on. I was like, okay, but show me now. It was kind of annoying. Anyway, so then we have Shadybug finding out about the wish, which I did think was really interesting that they had no idea, because I kind of assumed that maybe in the parallel universe you actually needed the butterfly along with the ladybug and cat to make the wish, but no, it's still the ladybug and cat miraculous. I was like, oh, interesting. They weren't told about it. They find out from Marinette's diary, and then she steals the ring of Claw Noir. Oh my god, the little flashback we got then, stuff like that's what I want, but more of it. This like did a great job where he's at the bakery. I'm assuming he doesn't go to school with Marinette in this world. I don't know, because Gabriel seems like a lovely person in this, so I don't think he'd force Adrian to be homeschooled if he didn't want it. I don't know, maybe this Adrian likes to be homeschooled, I don't know. They didn't show us, I'm not sure. I really love the flashback, how his little crush on her makes his bodyguard go and get snacks. Adorable, loved it. So like I said, the wish, loved it, didn't know the effects, and like it was quite like physical like harm to the Kwamis in their physical forms, plus Marinette as well. So I really liked that, but again, I feel like if we had a flashback about this supreme person, this evil guardian, I feel like it would have been even more effective if we got that at the start, so we could have seen just how controlling he is, just how much of a threat he is, because I didn't really feel like that much during the special. And we're just jumping forward a little bit. So everyone's kind of met up again, so it's in the alleyway with Hesperia, Cat Noir, Ladybug and Alia. Alia's arrived at this point. And Ladybug's like, I don't know what to do. They see the giant things, which by the way, why did Cat Noir like put on his night vision for that? Like, it wasn't that dark and everyone else could see them. Okay, whatever. But I was like, I didn't particularly feel there were really that high of a stakes during this special compared to, first of all, the other two specials, and first, just to, like the episodes in general of Miraculous. Like, you know, Ladybug's panicking, Cat Noir calms her down super quick, does it like that. And then she's like, oh, well, actually I do have a plan, it's a bit complex, but I already got one. So I was like, then what were you panicking for if you already knew? Like, so strange. So I didn't really get the feeling at all at any point in this special that like all hope was lost. It just didn't feel as like grandiose as the dilemmas we got in the New York special or the Shanghai special. I felt for both of those there was like a lot more at stake. Whereas here, I was like, as soon as I saw the giants and he started snapping them and was like, oh, they're not Akumas. And I was like, oh, well, they must be illusions then. And the one way to get rid of an illusion is you touch it and it disappears. And she already had a plan to fix everything. So I don't really, like I said, I didn't particularly feel the stakes of it. But anyway, going back a slight bit, one scene I did absolutely love where after the wish goes wrong and she tries to get Yimi but it doesn't work, she backs into the mirror, smashes it, Sabine's like, oh my god, are you okay? And she's really rude and Sabine's like, do you want to try again? And she apologises and she said, oh, the sewing machine's broken but it's just a bit damaged, obviously referring to herself. That was beautiful. I think some of the emotional moments in this special were great. It's just some other things I had an issue with during this special. So back to the plan. Like I said, the plan was fine. I had no problem with the plan, but I was just like, why did you bother panicking where you already had a plan? Like I said, overall during this special, I don't particularly feel there was much at stake and I was like, you'll be fine. I wasn't like worrying, you know, I was like, yeah, you'll be fine. However, one thing I did like was the fighting and then the talks between Shadybug and Ladybug and then Cat Noir and Claw Noir. Got it right. They've been confusing me for the past few weeks. So I think all the fighting, again, like the choreography of them was really, really good. But again, like when they were talking about different things, I was like, show them. So when like Shadybug's backing Ladyfly into the wall, they should have called her Butterbug. What a much better name. So when they were backing her into the wall, it's like, I don't have girlfriends, I don't have amazing parents, I don't have a boyfriend, stuff like that. Like, show it. Don't just say, show it. It's getting so annoyed. Then again, the thing with Chloe, I was really surprised that Chloe was still evil in this other world. I was 100% expecting Chloe to be like what Marinette is in our version of Miraculous, you know? So I was like, okay. However, I really, really love the use of the mirror to show Shadybug what she's like. And again, like she does the Miraculous Shadybug at the end of it all. I was like, I'm assuming that's the first time she's ever done it, which would have been more effective if we see like what kind of fighting and what usually happens in this other Paris, which is, I'm assuming, everything gets destroyed because she never repairs it, you know? So that would have been cool. And again, the same with the Adrien talk, how he talks about like, oh, his dad's like already over his mom, or that's like what it's coming across to as Adrien. Like again, show us the kind of relationship they have. However, I loved like the little reveals Adrien and Marinette did to their counterpart. They were beautifully done. I really love those. That was amazing, especially with Adrien and Claw Noir. They had a conversation about Nino. I thought that was super duper cute. And I loved the new outfits they got as well. So then like the final part of the special is Monarch Daddy being like, okay, well, I'll just use the rooster and I'll go and get a different Ladybug and Cat Noir's Miraculous. So I love the idea, and I definitely think it was good to include, because people definitely would have been like, well, can't he just access it somehow the same way he uses the Buddy Miraculous, you know, immediately? And turns out he's been using the same Miraculous all season long. So I liked they included it, and I loved all of Marinette's outfits. I love getting to see these other universes, especially like the PV style one, like the old style, the animation they were going to go with. I loved it. However, I'm like, what's gonna stop Gabriel Babes from doing that like 2 hours later when he knows you're probably not transformed? I didn't quite, like, he still could have done it, right? So I was a bit like, you know, you can't stop him from doing that until you also get the rooster. So I was a bit like, on the fence about it. And then right at the end, Marinette and Alia, love the little chat and the throwback to Origins, but the whole time I was like, go to bed. You've had the longest day of your life. It started with getting tattooed by the weird froggy boy. Go to bed, please. So I was just like, oh my god. However, I do kind of wish the special had ended in the parallel universe instead. Just my, like, I think it would have been so much effective. We start there, then let's end there. Maybe show them taking a stand against the Supreme. I know that kind of would have like led into more like, so like a spin-off series territory, but again, like the end of the New York special does the same thing where they're watching Creeper McCreepface, the cash guy, and then the guardian of their miracle box presumably arrives. I've forgotten his name. Did he have a name? I don't remember. It's been a while since I said the New York special. So I was like, why couldn't they have done something like that? End it a bit more, not necessarily on a cliffhanger, but just, you know, something to show that like Shadybug, Claw Noir and Hesperia are this new team trying to take down the Supreme, you know? So yeah, overall I'd give it a 7 out of 10. Obviously, as you can see as I've gone through that, I did like a lot of aspects to it. It was just, for me, it was a sci-fi special, and the sci-fi just wasn't sci-fi, basically. And maybe if you don't like sci-fi as much as me, you maybe didn't care, didn't notice, whatever, that's fine. But it's like a special interest of mine, doing a PhD in it. That book I read out from before is not the only science fiction book I have. I have over 50 downstairs. So yeah. So it's definitely just down to personal preference. I don't think it was terrible. Like I said, it's like a 7, almost 8 out of 10. There were loads of things I liked, and oh my god, I've got so many videos on all these outfits. Overall, I think I pretty much liked all the outfits. There's a couple of things here and there I didn't love, but like overall, I did like the outfits, but we'll get into them more like next week. And I also did a reaction, so we'll be doing that. So yeah, 7, 8-ish out of 10. MVP, you know, I couldn't decide. I was like, is it Adrian? Is it Marinette? Is it other Gabriel babes? And yeah, I was like, you know, I'll write it down now and maybe by the time I've talked it all through, I'll have decided. And I can't decide. One of those three. So anyway, besties, that's what I thought of the episode. As always, I'd love to know what you think. It's totally okay if you disagree with me. If you loved it, I'd love to know why you loved it. That's totally fine if you disagree with me. As we always say, besties don't always agree with each other, but besties always respect each other's opinions. And like always, if you're gonna write me a little essay about the special, I can't wait to read it. But if you could just, you know, put some paragraphs in there, it would make my life so much easier when I read it. So I'd love to know what you think of the Reverse special, besties, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!